Hello, I'm the Dark Master, and welcome back to my LEGO reviews. In today's video, we shall be reviewing set number 71766, Lloyd's Legendary Dragon from the Legacy Subwave of LEGO Ninjago. It comes with 747 pieces in 6 bags, a sticker sheet, and 4 minifigures. As always, let us start with those figures. From left to right, we see Dojo Lloyd, Dojo Nia, Python Dynamite, and a Viper Flyer. Let us start with the heroes of the set, as we always do. First up is Dojo Lloyd. Starting from the head, we see he bears the Legacy Ninja hood wrap, molded dually in lime and normal green. It's a good piece and is in some neat colors that, while not technically a new piece, it's great to see and get in another set. Interestingly, in addition, this set comes with a hairpiece for Lloyd, which has the sort of gritty, greasy, fluffy, massive hair with a green headband that gives off a sort of ninja-esque Rambo vibe. Overall, it's a good piece, and it's nice to have the option to switch between hair and hood. Going down from there, we see he has a face print which is double-sided. One is a cocky smile, while the other is a serious scowl. It's not a new piece, we've seen it before, but it's still decent and it's good to get, frankly, and it's very useful. Going down from there, we see that he bears that old half-armor piece with a shuriken emblem. It's fine and has a decently holder that holds a katana in it. Overall, it's fine armor, but nothing new, and we've seen it in dozens of sets before, so let's not talk about it any further. Going further down to his torso, in the front we see that he's wearing a green ninja robe with lime green dragon scale patterning and a sand green colored underrobe. It's pretty good and gives off that ninja vibe. Going to the back and removing the armor so we can get a better look at the back print, we see it's a simplified design that still works well enough and has a dragon head. But it's usually covered so you won't really miss it, but still, it's a pretty good print. Going to the arms, there is a neat little asymmetry going on here. One is a dark green, while the other is colored lime. Pretty good, while the hands are both the standard utilitarian green. Going down to his legs, they are molded in olive green and, in general, have some good printing depicting robes and belts. In terms of weapons, he wields 2. One is a lime green katana, which is a neat color to get it as it's one of my favorite colors, as well as being just a generally utilitarian weapon mold. The second is a far more generic broadsword, similar to that seen in the movie. Overall, great, but nothing special. Overall, a good reimagining of the Green Ninja. Now let's go to Nia. Starting from the top, we see she also wears the Legacy Ninja hood wrap, dual molded in gunmetal gray and cyan blue. Not a new piece, in fact, I think we've seen this recolor in more sets than we've seen Lloyd's, but it's still good to get, especially without a printing. Sadly, unlike Lloyd, she doesn't come with a hair, which is a bummer because it's always nice to have the option to decide between the hair and the hood. Removing the hood, we can get a better look at her face print, which is again double-sided and bears a beauty mark. One is a really happy smile, while the other is a far more determined expression. While again, it's not new, it's still good to see, and it's frankly a really good face print. Going down, we see she has the same armor that Lloyd has, which is serviceable, but nothing worth talking about further since we've already covered it in depth. Going down from there, we see her torso. In the front bears a gunmetal gray ninja robe with a sort of really neat series of wave patterns and a Ninjago symbol. Going to the back and removing the armor, we see a simpler print bearing a continuation of that wave pattern and a large Ninjago symbol. Overall, both are great prints, and it's a good torso around, even if you're not really missing much, especially with the armor on. Going to the arms, we see that she has one that is completely cyan blue, while the other has a gunmetal arm. It's a neat asymmetry that plays into the printing on the torso. Going down to her legs, they are molded in gray and have some neat printing on it that further depicts ninja robes. In terms of weapons, she, much like Lloyd, wields two. First, there is this katana piece molded in cyan blue, which is a perfectly utilitarian piece and it's a nice color, but it's nothing new. Her other weapon is far more interesting, being this weird combination of an urukai sword from the Lego Lord of the Rings wave, a golden harpoon, and a golden lightsaber hilt. It's frankly so bizarre, it's actually rather interesting. Overall, a unique and great reimagining of Nia, the water ninja, that is only slightly weaker than Lloyd due to her slightly more bland color scheme and a lack of an optional hairpiece that Lloyd had. Now, let's go to the villains of the set, the Snake Warriors, starting with Python Dynamite. Starting from the head, we see that Pyro Viper head remolded in gunmetal gray and orange. Honestly, not that most interesting of all the recolors, and we've seen it so often that the Snake Warrior here just really lack any character of its own, frankly, and it just gets kind of forgotten in the lists of the various Ninjago villains that we've seen. Going down to the torso, we see he has a sort of Conan-esque torso with well-worn armor and a necklace set over an orange, scaly body. It's really neat, and luckily, going to the pack, we don't have to remove anything to get a good look of the printing due to him not wearing any armor. And again, it's another really decent design here, even if it's somewhat forgettable in the grand scheme of things. His arms are perfectly simple gunmetal gray, perfectly utilitarian but nothing special, and his hands are orange, again pretty basic or utilitarian. Going down to his legs, we see the sole trait that is unique in this figure being his short legs that are black and lack any articulation whatsoever, which is honestly not that cool. I would think that since they introduced these shorter legs in the Harry Potter collectible minifigure line that they would use those more often, but I guess they just don't really like using those. In terms of weaponry, he wields two bundles of TNT, which makes sense given his, well, name. Overall, a forgettable manlet, or I guess in this case, snakelet. But his name does kind of remind me of a certain movie that you may or may not have heard of.
I'm really busy right now.
Can you bring me my chapstick?
Going to the next villain, which is a Viper Flyer. Starting with the head, it's another recolor of that overused Pyro Viper head, but this time with inverted colors, having an orange main section and gunmetal flame slash details. Again, another unoriginal piece and recolor that frankly has been overused to the point of no longer be interesting. Going down from there, we see that he has a backpack piece that bears four clips, which allow for four clip pieces to be attached, which can be moved forwards and back, and are in general give him a nice silhouette for as forgettable as he is, and it's sort of meant to be a kind of flyer or a backpack. Going down to the torso, we see again that he has a backpack sash with a really metal looking snake emblem set on a rather Conan-esque orange and gray scaly chest. It's fine, but forgettable. Going to the back and removing the armor so that we can get a better look, we see a far less impressive, though still serviceable for what it's supposed to be, print that is perfectly fine, but again, nothing really special. Going to his arms, you see that they are inverted from the last one with orange arms and gray hands. It's perfectly fine, but again, nothing really original or interesting. Going down to his legs, we see they are molded in orange and have a copper loincloth. It gives off the sort of Conan vibe, but it's perfectly fine. In terms of weaponry, he wields a silver katana. Again, nothing particularly special, but I guess perfectly utilitarian. Overall, a forgettable if functional figure that I guess will serve relatively well as a army builder, but again, just utterly forgettable. Now let's go to the set pieces and stickers. We see here that there are a large selection of nice slopes and plates in a wide number of colors. Those big blue ones are pretty good, as are all the green pieces, especially given that my favorite color is green. I also like the cloth used for the dragon's wings. It has a rather good pattern and is made of high quality fabric, meaning it's very soft. Overall, a great selection of pieces that will no doubt be very appealing to mockists of all types. In terms of stickers, the set has a medium number of them, 11, which seems fine to me, and some of the details they add are pretty neat, but if you're one of those people who really hate stickers, then you can leave them off and it won't really harm the set in any way. But what about what the pieces and stickers build? Is that any good? Well, let's start with the smaller of the two, this little ballista. And you know what? I actually think it's pretty good. It uses a propeller piece as a base, which means it's really sturdy, and two tail pieces in teal as the bow. And it can shoot a little missile thanks to the spring fire mechanism, and it works really well in all honesty. The only problems are that it has sadly limited posing and is associated with the most forgettable of Ninjago's many bad guy factions. But now let's go to the star of the set, Lloyd's legendary dragon. Starting with the head, we see it's constructed out of two molded pieces. Interestingly, however, is that they are the inverse compared to the other dragons that I've reviewed with these pieces, with the chin stripe instead being recontextualized as a nose horn akin to that of certain iguanas. It's also green, which is again my favorite color. The bottom jaw is a navy blue and gives the dragon a slight underbite. It can open pretty decently, allowing us to see what's in its mouth, which is a tongue that can be rotated slightly. Going to the back of the head, we see it significantly bulked up with numerous plates, a sticker piece that's relatively good, and these really cool golden wing pieces used as these magnificent horns that can be articulated slightly forwards and back. Overall, it's pretty cool. Thanks to a ball joint, the head has some good articulation and can go up, down, side to side. Going down to the neck, we see that the neck segment has some cyan blue layered over green and navy blue with a golden clip piece. All told, this gives it a good look. Plus, the neck gives it a decent amount of articulation and support for the head. Going to the body, we see the saddle used by Lloyd, which can be removed for a better view, so let's do that. Doing so, we can see that it is composed of brown and gold pieces, with clip pieces allowing for slight articulation at 3 points. It does successfully give off a Far Eastern style. Going to the back, though, we can see what is the quote-unquote collectible of the set, being a banner, specifically the banner of Surprise, which is constructed out of a golden bow staff, a clip piece, and an admittedly pretty good printed piece, which is nice to see as printed pieces tend to last longer than stickers. Honestly, it's probably, in general, the banners are some of the weakest sets of collectibles that Ninjago's ever had, but I don't know, it's still decently executed for what it is. Going on from the saddle, we see the dragon has some golden clip pieces that show where the saddle is meant to be put. We also see that the dragon has a really large chest that in many ways is indicative of a very strong set of wing muscles, which does play into the play feature of the set, which can be accessed thanks to this black handle, which sees the wings flap back and forth. I think the function is pretty good, if a bit simple, and thanks to the choice of making the handle black, it doesn't ruin the color scheme the same way some older sets used like a red handle to stick out better. So that's pretty good, and I think the size does slightly make this function a bit awkward to pull off, but it still works perfectly fine. Going down to the front legs, and man, they are really chunky with these huge green pieces. Heck, they even use a green car hood piece here. And there's also this Nexo Knight shield piece in green that has an amazing sticker on it. And I also want to bring to attention this new piece here, which allows for two ratchet joints to function as one without sacrificing the articulation that is normally seen when you use two separate ratchet joints. That's pretty cool. It's very ingenious, and they finally figured out how to work around some of the issues involving multiple ratchet joints, so that's neat. Sadly, the lower legs are unfortunately not so lucky. Going down from there, we see that the knee is alive, being permanently bent, though the coloration is still cool at being that navy blue. And unfortunately, when it comes to a dragon of this size, you can't. It's kind of hard to expect there to be knees because unfortunately, builds of these sizes tend to wear on joints a lot more than smaller dragons do. Though I still think it can be done in certain ways. Going to the feet, we see it does have articulation, and it has a rather interesting set of toes made out of white slow pieces. Overall, some decently done feet. Going down the back, we see it really suddenly dips, and we get more cool stickers that really carry on the transition between the two main colors of this set. Going to the back legs, we see that they are far more scrawny, but have a good amount of articulation at the top. They also have a lot of really cool green pieces used here, including some in sand green. Sadly, much like the front pair legs, there's no knees though. The feet are largely the same and provide good stability for this build. Thanks to the ball joint, it still has some decent articulation. Going down to the tail, we see that it is constructed out of 5 main segments. The first is the most bulky, with a pair of really good stickers that continue off from the stickers we saw earlier. The second segment is slightly less substantial with an inverted slope piece. The third segment is even smaller, being almost entirely forgettable except for an admittedly somewhat charming quarter plate 1x1 piece. And the final segment is a Hero Factory sword piece, which makes the dragon a great deal longer than it honestly would be otherwise. Overall, a great tail, and it has some really good articulation. Now, let us discuss the set's positives, negatives, and my final thoughts. Starting with the positives, I thought the dragon was really well crafted. It had a lot of little details and decent articulation, as well as a good, fun little feature. The ninja included are great, especially Lloyd thanks to his additional hairpiece. I even enjoyed the little side build, the ballista, and it had some charm even if it had some drawbacks. In terms of negatives, I'm gonna be honest, the bad guys are just bland and utterly forgettable. I mean, like, seriously, snakes again? Haven't we seen this so many times that the notion of snakes being a serious threat is kind of a joke? I mean, what, we had the Serpentine, the Endochondrite cult, the Vermilion, the Pyro Vipers. Heck, what's next? And they're so homogenized to not even be very cool. I mean, at least the Serpentine had distinct tribes, but these Jews, they're just pathetic. Also, a minor nitpick, but the wings from the dragon, when you look up from the bottom, don't look all that good, but that's really just a intrinsic design problem when it comes to dragons, as there really isn't a way to put an effective manner to add cloth to both sides and make it look good. So that's not really a flaw, more like just something you got to deal with. Overall, I think that this is a really great set with a lot of good features. Admittedly, somewhat forgettable bad guys, but otherwise good minifigures, and Really, I think you should give it a buy, even if it's at a discount. Anyway, I am the Dark Master, and if you enjoy this kind of LEGO reviews, consider subscribing for more. I have another one in the works. And have a good day. Take care.